Welcome once again, students, in our third chapter of science part first, chemical reactions and equations. Today, we will take the points chemical equations. We have already seen that what is meant by the physical and chemical changes are there in everyday's life. We can see the different activities are there. In that activity, we can say there is a change in its products which they have formed at that time. The change is permanent or a change is a temporary. When change is temporary, it is called a physical change, and when change is a permanent, then it is called a chemical change. When chemical change is there, there would be a chemical reaction taking place between the two different substances are there. And what you have to do, chemical equations, the chemical change can be written in words as well as in the abbreviated form, and this is called a chemical equations. What you have to do, we have to write down its chemical formulae of the substance which are taking in the part in the chemical reactions, and the product which obtained, in which form they have, and which are the necessary conditions is required for the particular chemical change or chemical reactions. This we have to write down. There are few steps regarding with it. This can be mentioned in the writing a chemical equations. Writing a chemical equations is the another way. That means what you have to do, you have to not write in word that these are the product, these are the reactants, these are the substances which are taking part in a chemical reaction or a chemical change, and after that, after chemical change is there, these are the substances which are occurred afterwards. But there are certain rules are there how to write a chemical change, that is a chemical reaction. How to write a chemical reaction, that is we have to write down it in a chemical equations. Chemical equations is the abbreviated or a condensed form. Abbreviated or a condensed form of that particular chemical change which are we have taken at that time. For that we have taken some example regarding with it. We have to start with the first one, that is chemical equations. We already in the last chapter, in the last lesson, we have seen that there are five activities we are provided to the student in a textbook. They have been performed by the student in presence of a teacher. That what we have to do, we have to using by these substances, that are chemicals and the apparatus, whatever it is required for that particular reactions, they have to utilize it to you. They have provided it to you. You have to utilize those things, and you have to do those things in the presence of a teacher in the laboratory. So we have to taking some example before the chemical equations. Is that one of the activity we have given that a copper copper sulfate solution and zinc dust. Copper sulfate, zinc dust and copper sulfate. And after that, what you have to find? Zinc sulfate and copper. Zinc sulfate and copper. Okay, zinc sulfate and copper. So this is the way the representing a chemical reaction in words. We have used words. Zinc dust is there, copper sulfate is there. These are the reactants that are taking place in the reaction, and these are the products, zinc sulfate and copper. But what you have to do, we have to write those above equation in condensed form in their formula. Zn plus CuSO4, that is copper sulfate. It can forms zinc sulfate plus copper. Zinc sulfate plus copper. Okay, what we have to do? This reaction we have to write down in words. This reaction is we have to write down in word equation. This is word equation, and this is in condensed form by using a chemical formula of every substance which is utilized for that particular reaction. So this is the chemical equations. So chemical equations is written in this way. The chemical formula is there. how many atoms or a molecule are present of particular element is there. According to their valency, we have to write down their chemical formula is there, and the elements which are taking part in this reaction. So there are when this reaction is taking place, what you have to do, you have to see the zinc sulfate and zinc dust and copper sulfate. Zinc dust is there and copper sulfate is there, and afterwards the reaction, what are the reactant, what are the product we form? Zinc sulfate and copper. These are totally different reaction. Totally different products is there. After performing this reaction, there are totally different substance we have to form from that particular reaction. So zinc and copper sulfate, in the copper sulfate reaction, what you have to see, this is the copper having the valency +2, sulfate -2, zinc +2. In this way there are breaking of bonds. This is SO4 radicals, copper radicals, acidic and basic radicals, and they replaces each other to form a zinc sulfate. These are happen when firstly they have breaking their bonds, that ionic bond which they have built together each other. These ions build each other, and after breaking this bond, we have to form a completely new product is there, having a different properties is there. We already mentioned those things. These zinc sulfate have totally different properties than copper sulfate and zinc. Okay, and this copper having totally different properties, chemical properties, then we can see in the copper sulfate. Copper sulfate is a blue vitriol that is of a blue color solution. Okay, so that what is a chemical equation? This is a chemical equation. So we have they have told the representation of a chemical reaction in a condensed form by using a chemical formulae. Representation of a chemical reaction in condensed form or abbreviated form by using a chemical formulae of that product and the reactant. It is called a chemical equations. That is called a chemical equations. Okay, these are the activities. I think these are the second activities which are provided to you in our book. So what you have to so in this way you have to write down those things. Chemical equations can be written in abbreviated, in short form, because it is not easy it is not easy to write down this word equation such like that. There are numerous steps are there, and they have been different conditions are there. They have been utilized, some extra things are there. Their physical states are there. We have to mention those things, and so that we can return all this by using a chemical formula and in condensed form, and this form is called the chemical equations. So next topic, writing a chemical equation. This is the main thing today we will discuss. Before writing a chemical equations, we have to note down those things, that we have to take in the consideration. There are some rules regarding with it. What are these rules? Step by steps we have to taking those things here. The first rule they are mentioned in our book, that the reactants in left hand side and products, always you have to write down the reactants. That is reactants in every reactions. What you have to do, you have to write down the reactants which are taking part in the chemical reaction should be right. You have to write down in the left hand side, and the products which we in this reaction we can form or we can obtain is written on its right hand side, and this arrow pointed towards the reactants, this arrow pointed towards the reaction. In this way, the heading of towards the product, this arrow heading towards the products. So just we have to take an example, one example, that in a first in this given equation, that zinc plus copper sulfate, it gives the reaction zinc sulfate plus copper in this way. The reactants are always written on a left hand side of this arrow. This arrow pointed towards the product. You must write down this thing that this is irreversible reaction. The reaction goes in this way. It indicates that the reaction goes in this way, not in this way. Okay? So reaction goes in this way and products is written on the right hand side of the pointed arrow, that is zinc sulfate plus copper. So in first rule, what you have to see, reactants always written on the left hand side and the products always written towards the right hand side, and the arrow which is pointed towards the product. This is first one. After that the second. What is the second rule? Second rule is that if we know that the reaction is taking place between two substances, okay, between two substances. So just once again I have written those things, that zinc plus copper sulfate, it gives zinc sulfate plus C. So what you have to write down, these connected, these are the reactant, these are the products, and these reactants and products can be linked with plus sign, that is plus sign. Not in this way, zinc, copper sulfate, zinc sulfate and copper. So we cannot clearly observe that, clearly analyze that which product is there, which are the chemical formula of the particular substance which are taking part in the reaction. So what you have to do, we have to do such like that. We have to link this, we have to link the reactants and products, or two or more, they are linked with a plus sign. They are linked with a plus sign. And also in products also we can write down those things. So in some reactions what happens, there are two or three products are there. If another product is we have to obtain from that, we can link it with a plus sign by using a plus sign. So reactants and products which we have utilized or performed, which can obtain, can be linked by using a plus sign. What you have to do, we have to use a plus sign in every steps. Without plus sign we cannot understand such like that. So plus sign you have to utilize for that. The third one, that they have been mentioned that to make a chemical equations more informative, what you have to write down, its physical state. In physical state we have to mention same reaction we have taken. Some example we have taken this example, that the zinc that is in solid form, that is dust, that is in solid form, the physical state is solid, and copper sulfate, that is water solution is there, aqueous solution is there. So AQ, we have to mention those, that is aqueous solution, water solution is there, and this reaction is taking place, and we can form ZnSO4, that is also aqueous solution, plus copper, that is in a solid state. Okay, that is in a solid state. So the chemical equations becomes more informative, so that we can easily analyze that what physical state they have, the reactants and the products, whether it is in the solid state, liquid state or gaseous state. In the solid state, what you have to write down? Yes, in liquid state we have to write down AQ or Al in liquid state, and in gaseous state what you have to write down? This way. So another one, when gas is released, we have to certain there is product CO2 is released. Instead of gas, what you have to write down? We have to write down in this way. Upward arrow. Upward arrow indicates it is a gas. The gas is the byproduct which is obtained from the reactant, and these are the product. Carbon. This is not a product of this one, but we have to write. We have to such mention such like that. Upward arrow indicates the product which obtained in the chemical reactions. In the chemical equations are written in such like that. The upward arrow indicates the product is a gas. It is in the physical state of a gas. Okay, and there are some insoluble substances are there in aqueous solutions. They have been in precipitate form. Precipitate form. Precipitate form. Precipitate form, and these precipitate form, and this can be written as such like that. Here we can see the precipitate form. Precipitate form is in the reaction in which there are double displacement reaction is there when two substance react to each other to form another product is there, and one of them is a precipitate. Okay, and these are written in such like that. If just for example, if we form AgNO3, and they are written in such like that. This downward arrow, it indicates a precipitate. For example, we have to utilize those things. We have to utilize such like that. We have to write down those reaction. That CaCO3, calcium carbonate there. On heating, what you have to form? CaO plus CO2. And this upward indicates the upward direction. The upward arrow indicates the product which we are obtained is a gas. And another one for a precipitate form, yesterday we have seen that potassium chromate K2CrO4 plus BaSO4. The reaction is taking place K2SO4 plus BaCrO4, that is in downward direction. That is barium chromate. Barium chromate is a precipitate. That is a precipitate we can form in downward direction. That is a precipitate form. So that upward direction and downward direction indicates that the product we form is in the gaseous state, and the downward direction it is in a precipitate form. That is in that the substance is not soluble in this aqueous solutions. That is in the minor solid particles are there. So we can easily find out that in the third rule that the chemical equation is more informative when we can mention its physical state. Solid state, we have to utilize the word yes is there. Liquid state is such like that, or a aqueous solution is there. And in a gaseous state, downward direction. This is also in solid state in such like that. This downward arrow also indicates that it is insoluble substances are there, that is in precipitate form. And the liquid state, it is L or AQ, or in gaseous state it is such like that, or a upward direction. These are three steps are there: solid, liquid and gaseous. In solid state, in a bracket, in curly bracket, what you have to write down? Yes is there, or downward direction arrow. Downward direction arrow indicates a precipitated form, a solid form, which is not dissolved in that solution. In a liquid state, whether it is a small L or AQ. In gaseous state, it upward direction arrow or AG. Okay. I think you understand those things, that physical state is more informative by using their physical conditions. in which form the reactants and products are. Fourth one is that there are some reactions. There are some reactions which are taking place when we are provided heat to it. That I just give an example. Calcium carbonate, that a limestone, on heating it gives a calcium oxide plus carbon dioxide. Calcium carbonate is heated. On heating, the calcium oxide is formed, and also another product is there, carbon dioxide, which is gas, which is I have written it is in upward direction. It is calcium carbonate is in solid state. Okay, this is also solid state, and CO2 in gaseous state. This is more informative. So this triangle indicates that we have required heat. The chemical reaction is occurred only when we have provided heat to calcium carbonate, and after that these products are formed. Also they have mentioned there are some certain amount of heat is there, that up to 100 degrees Celsius, 180 degrees Celsius, 1400 degrees Celsius. Specifically they have mentioned how many heat is required for that. Here we not mention those things here in the that calcium carbonate reaction, but at a particular situation if we have provided a heat to the reactant, then how much amount of heat we have to utilize. Otherwise it would be excess. It will be another product is there. Nuisance things are obtained from it. So that we have to take care about it when we are written. We have written the equation is more informative. At that time we have to write down the temperature, how much amount of heat is provided, how much amount of temperature we have to increase or utilize. Okay, in some reactions that heat is evolved. Here heat is provided to it, and in some reaction heat is evolved. And once again I just mention another example. First one, that copper sulfate aqueous solution and the zinc. And this reaction we have formed ZnSO4, that is in aqueous solution, as well as copper is there, copper in solid state, and plus heat is also there. Heat is evolved. The temperature before chemical reaction and temperature after chemical reaction, what you have to mention that there is slightly difference or more difference. When reactants reacts with each other, that original temperature, before reaction, we have to measure those things, we have to note down those, and after chemical reaction, heat is evolved. That means the temperature of a chemical reaction rises. So heat is evolved, and heat is provided, and heat is evolved. These things also mentioned in chemical equations. These things also mentioned in our chemical equations. Okay. So in this way, the fifth rule. What is the fifth rule mentioned here? The fifth rule they have it is necessary to fulfill a certain condition like specific temperature, pressure, and catalyst. To mention specific conditions for that reaction. For example, there are certain conditions are there. If and only if this reaction occurs, we know that if what you have to obtain those things, there are some conditions are there which is provided to provide you a certain object is there. What you have to do, we have some certain conditions are there. We have taken example which is mentioned in our book is that the vegetable oil that is in a liquid form, and this reaction with hydrogen gas. Vegetable oil, that is a reaction with a hydrogen gas in presence of nickel catalyst. Nickel catalyst. Nickel catalyst, and 60 degrees Celsius is the temperature. What you have to obtain? Vanaspati ghee. Vanaspati ghee. Okay. To mention a specific conditions. What is the specific conditions to obtain a Vanaspati ghee? Vanaspati ghee, that is called dalda. You know dalda in Marathi words. Dalda is there. Dalda is one of the product of Dabur company. Dabur company actually. That is Vanaspati ghee. So vegetable oil reacts with hydrogen. Vegetable oil which is in liquid state react with a hydrogen gas which is in gas state in presence of a catalyst. In presence of a catalyst. Catalyst is a substance which can change the rate of reactions. Change the rate of reactions. That is nickel. That is nickel. Here the substance which is used as a catalyst is nickel. In the reaction is taking place at a 60 degrees Celsius. Reaction is taking place at a 60 degrees Celsius. These are the things which mention that specific conditions. There are certain specific conditions are there to write down this reaction. That specific conditions are temperature, pressure, catalyst, temperature and pressure. These are the certain conditions which can increase, which when created this reaction, which can increase the rate of reactions, which can be happened, and these things we have required. These are the requirement for that particular reaction. That are the specific conditions we have to write down. For Vanaspati, we have to convert Vanaspati oil into Vanaspati ghee. The reaction with hydrogen, but not it requires only hydrogen gas, but it requires a catalyst is there. The catalyst is there is a nickel catalyst, and the temperature which is required for to carry out this reaction is 60 degrees Celsius. Okay, so fifth one to mention specific conditions for the particular reactions, and the last one is here special information or names of reactants and product. Special information of reactants and products. So especially what you have to write down, any product you have to buy after when you buy some certain products are there. They have been the salesman asks you that high quality or low quality, such like that. I have written example that copper reacts with copper in solid state reacts with nitric acid, that is 4HNO3, that is in aqueous solution. Okay. A specific information of the reactants. Specific information. What you have to do? What you have to write down? Here is a nitric acid and here is a copper. Copper in solid state, nitric acid in aqueous solution. That is 4 molecule of HNO3, and it form a copper nitrate, CuNO3 twice. CuNO3 twice. That is an aqueous solution. Plus nitrogen dioxide, that is gas, plus twice H2O. Okay. They have told us that here is the reaction. Copper sulfates when reacts with a nitric acid, that is aqueous solution, that 4 molecule of HNO3, and the product is copper nitrate, that is aqueous solution, and nitrogen dioxide is there. What have to mention? Nitrogen dioxide and water molecule, 2 water molecule is there. and these are product. You have already mentioned that some specific information or names of reactant products are written below their formulae. For example, copper on reaction with a concentrated nitric acid gives a reddish colored poisonous nitrogen dioxide. That is poisonous nitrogen dioxide we have formed when the reaction is taking place. However, the reaction of a dilute nitric acid, here is a concentrated nitric acid, that we have to write down here the specific concentrated, CONC, concentrated. The word CONC means concentrated nitric acid. Dilute, DIL, dilute nitric acid. The reaction, another reaction is that dilute nitric acid is that 3Cu, that is solid state, reacts with dilute HNO3, that is in aqueous solution, that is dilute. Here we have to write down DIL. Okay, here is concentrated means more furious, concentrated, here is dilute. Okay, and the product we obtain is copper nitrate. Okay, copper nitrate, that is in aqueous solution, plus nitrogen oxide gas plus 4H2O. So here both reaction is here. Here is a concentrated nitric acid, here is dilute nitric acid, and the product we obtained, here is copper nitrate is there, here is also copper nitrate is there, 3 molecule of a copper nitrate is here. Here nitrogen dioxide, which is poisonous gas, is there. Here we can obtain nitrous oxide. Here we obtain a nitric oxide. So in this, that it is nitrogen dioxide, it is a nitric oxide. So product is totally different. So that when we react with copper with a nitric acid, we must write down whether it is concentrated or whether it is dilute. So specific information of the reactants and the products we have to write in such way like that. Okay, these are the things we have to see, and after that the remaining part of this particular chapter we will study tomorrow. In this chapter we have seen that the rules regarding with the chemical reactions and what is meant by chemical reaction, how the word reaction is there, how the chemical condensed form, how the chemical reaction can be written by using the chemical equations. Okay, I just stop here. Tomorrow we will discuss those things.